Hello everyone, and yes, you're welcome to Clarity with Coach Judith. My name is Judith Callistus, the Sisters Coach, and I welcome you warmly to this first edition of this conversation. This is a safe space where we'll be having honest conversations about purpose, marriage, relationship, leadership, womanhood, and life in general. Again, you're welcome. Let's gain clarity together. The question of the day says, is it risky to marry a man who does not have a mentor? Is it risky to marry a man who does not have a mentor? And my answer is yes, but let me explain. Now, the Bible teaches us that God gives wisdom and He gives it generously to as many that seek Him humbly with their hearts. However, the same scripture explains that we have different kinds of wisdom: the earthly wisdom, the worldly wisdom, the sensual wisdom, and of course, the God kind of wisdom. Now, one thing is clear. Wisdom is given in measures. Some people receive remarkable wisdom via divine favor, just like Solomon received his, while others receive wisdom via discipline, correction, experience, and by their years of walking with God. The measure of wisdom given to Mr. A may not be the same measure that will be given to Mr. B. And the same applies to Mr. C and Mr. D. Now, you will agree with me that if God deposited all wisdom in one man, that man will become all-knowing. But of course, no one is all-knowing. Only God is all-knowing. So God intentionally distributes wisdom among His people so that we can learn from each other. There will be seasons when Mr. A will need Mr. B's wisdom to navigate a particular challenge, and there are times where Mr. B will need Mr. A's wisdom to navigate a particular season. And this is why no one should isolate themselves. We all need people, who can speak into our lives at some point or the other. Now, it is on this foundation that I say this: it is risky to marry a man who has no one he is accountable to and from whom he receives wise counsel. Now, listen, no matter how intelligent, how successful, no matter how spiritually mature a man is, there will come a season when he will need someone with greater experience, someone with clearer perspective to help him navigate life, ministry, family, career, and whatever season he is at that time. Men understand authority, men understand leadership, and it is very okay. However, if this understanding is not balanced with humility, it becomes very, very dangerous. Sometimes, in an attempt to protect his position as a head of the home, a man may become resistant to correction. He may reject good counsel, not because it is wrong, but because his ego interprets it to be a challenge to his authority. And as a wife, you may have good suggestions, good ideas. You want to even save him from a particular problem and all of that. But he's not, he's simply not in the position to receive that counsel from you. It is at this point you need, it is at this point he needs someone he respects enough to listen to. It is at this point he needs a mentor, and this is where mentorship and accountability becomes invaluable. Now, one of the things I admire about men in the scripture, great men in the scripture, is their ability to understand the value of receiving counsel. I will give you an instance. King David, for instance, had Prophet Nathan. Prophet Nathan was that man who will look at David and tell him the truth, and tell him, confront him and tell him the truth. He was not scared. He had wise voices around him. I remember a situation in 2 Samuel 14 where David needed help, on how to process his emotions, right? Joab recognized that David needed help on how to process his emotions concerning his son Absalom. What did Joab do? He went and arranged a wise woman of Tekoa. It was this woman that came and spoke to David, and David became fine and the situation was resolved. What does that tell you? Even kings need wise voices around them. Now, when people stop listening to wise counsel, they become vulnerable to costly mistakes. Now, before I got married, one of the qualities I intentionally looked out for was, was there someone this man respected enough to learn from? That was a third on my list of qualities I wanted to see in a man. Was there someone he respected enough to learn from? So he didn't just tell me I have a mentor. I watched him, I saw him submit to correction, and it was one of those things that gave me convictions to, go ahead with the marriage, right? So if you're a single sister listening to me, don't just marry a man who can lead you. Also marry a man who is humble enough to be led when necessary. Did you hear that? Don't just marry a man who can lead you. Marry a man who is humble enough to be led when necessary. And if you're a married woman listening to me, if your husband already had trusted voices in his life, I encourage you to, encourage those relationships. Don't feel threatened by them. If he doesn't have, then pray that God will surround him with wise, godly men who can actually speak truth into his life. And if you're a man listening to me, don't get to that point where you have become too successful or too spiritual or too experienced to receive counsel, because a man who refuses correction eventually limits his own growth. A man who refuses correction eventually limits his own growth. Now, the strongest leaders are not those who know everything. They are those who remain teachable. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you some other time on Clarity with Coach Judith. And if you have questions, please send it to claritywithcoachjudith@gmail.com. God bless you.